You have the bodybuilding contract in front of you, somewhere in the fine print. In font number 5 was a small section, muscularity will get you groped. You put your signature right there. You agree to the terms and conditions. Good luck. Have a nice experience. Welcome to Vigorous Mindset. I'm Coach Steve. Let's discuss another 5 unexpected consequences of gaining size, starting with getting groped. And I can't even say it with a straight face. So when you get larger, Gen Pop, the general population, might start groping you. And it's never super attractive women. The supermodels, the 12 out of 10s will never ever grope you unless you're at a party and they're really drunk. You might get lucky that way. Most of the women that are going to grope you are postmenopausal women, and it could be because their testosterone levels are a little bit higher compared to their estradiol levels, so they get a little bit more confidence, a little bit more ballsy to approach you and grope you without your consent. It doesn't qualify you for a Me Too movement. You're just going to have to take it with a smile. Even if you're suffering from social anxiety, you're gaining size, and the unexpected end result is getting groped. Now, most of the people that are going to grope you are men. Some of those might be homosexual. Some of them might not be homosexual, but they're simply impressed. And they want to confirm if your arms are really hard, dense, and the size, touching stuff can give you a clear indication of how big something is. So this is something that just unfortunately comes with the territory. The more size you gain, the more likelihood will occur that you get groped by people you've never met and probably will never meet again in your life. It just comes with the territory. You'll have to take it with a smile, because the last thing you want is if somebody's impressed by your overall muscularity and they do cup a feel, is that you lose your mind and you throw a temper tantrum, giving overall bodybuilding a bad name because they approach you from a positive incentive and you just take it with a smile. You flex your arms as hard as you can from a couple different angles so the groper can get all the confirmation they need and go about their business, and you'll be left alone until you meet the next groper. And I hate to say it, but this is something you silently signed up for when you started bodybuilding. You have the bodybuilding contract in front of you, somewhere in the fine print. In font number 5 was a small section, muscularity will get you groped. You put your signature right there. You agree to the terms and conditions. Good luck. Have a nice experience. Next on the list, and probably the biggest pet peeve of mine, is the word economy. And I know it makes you shiver, right? Economy. And whether that's in the airplane or the bus or any other kind of public transportation, economy is your worst nightmare. Now, most of us will fly, maybe not this year. This year flying is kind of out of the question for most people. But before this pandemic happened and we were allowed to travel a little bit more frequently and freely, sitting in an economy seat was like rolling the dice. It was like Russian roulette. Sometimes you get lucky. Let's say you fly from Thailand back to the Western world and you're sitting with a couple other Asians with a small posture and they're sitting right next to you. Of course, usually my wife would be sitting right next to me and the other person would be hopefully an Asian of a small stature or just a general person of a small stature. And in that case, economy is tolerable, even though sometimes, especially when you're in the off season, yes, your shoulders will be, over the seat and your wife might complain or the other person might complain. But every time I fly from the Western world, I always sit with another Westerner of a larger stature. Now, 99% of the time, that's not a muscular person, unless you're flying with a friend. Usually it's a moderately obese person, and their waist will roll over the arm seat while your shoulders are coming over the arm seat. So you'll, being the bodybuilder that you are, you'll have to lean forward the entire trip until you get to your destination, resulting in all kinds all kinds of back pain. And there's no amount of taurine that can fix this for you. You're going to be crippled, besides the possibility for edema for a long flight because you can't recline. So you're sitting forward there, just hunched forward like you're preparing for the potential of an airplane crash because the persons next to you are so large that you can't fit in your shoulders. Because their waist is a little bit wider than everybody else. So economy travel is a nightmare. Now, in my opinion, business class isn't really worth it when you compare the business class seat size to economy, considering the price, because usually business class is 2 to 3 times the price of an economy seat. I flew business a couple times with my former consultancy firm. Of course, they paid for that expense, so it wasn't coming out of my own pocket. But considering the experience that I have flying business, comparing that to economy, personally, if I were to pay a flight out of my own pocket, I would always choose for economy or maybe economy plus. You get a little bit lucky and they put you in the front row where you have a little bit more room size, or they put you in front of the emergency exit where you can actually stretch your legs a little bit. So flying business is a little bit more expensive, but the margin of difference, let's say it's a $2,000 margin, $2,000 difference, you can easily use that to overcompensate by doing something fun after you arrive at your destination. So let's say in the worst case scenario, you're flying from the States to Thailand. I believe that takes 22 hours with 2 stopovers. The good thing about a stopover is that you can stretch your legs, walk around, enjoy the duty-free section, maybe buy some chocolate, some cigars. Never buy alcohol because alcohol dissolves muscles. And if you're trying to gain size, you don't want to cannibalize that with a ton of alcohol. So I wouldn't buy any alcohol in those 1 liter, 2 liter bottles you see at the duty-free section. You can buy some cigars, might raise your C-reactive protein levels a little bit. Those will come down within 4 to 5 days. Trust me, I have the blood work to prove it. Okay, so economy, it makes you shiver, but it's a necessity because business class is so expensive. The alternative would be to slim down. Now, most of us are not going to make that sacrifice unless they do fly frequently, but then you're probably in a different field. You're an actual businessman and you're not a bodybuilder. A businessman flies frequently, and only the top level IFBB pro bodybuilders with frequent guest postings or appearances, they fly frequently also, and those guys expense their business class seat to the people that invite them to do a guest posing or seminar or whatever. Yeah? So economy, it just makes you shiver. You're going to have to get through it. It's just part of the game. Learn to enjoy it and spend that money that you would otherwise spend on business class doing something fun when you arrive at your holiday destination. And another unexpected consequence, you enter a room and it doesn't matter what people were talking about. You set 1 foot through the door and everybody's talking about you. Everybody's talking about training. Everybody wants to ask questions. How much you bench? How big are your arms? What's your body fat level? Show me your abs, etc. I've had this happen so many times when you go into the real world that's not a gym or a bodybuilding contest. You walk into the room, people turn their head, your anxiety level starts to rise, and they start talking about training. You see people flex their arms in the background. Some people that are close to you are going to ask you, hey, what's up? You work out? Are you a wrestler? It's exhausting. I completely agree and I completely understand. But again, it's something you sign up for because you look so much different compared to everybody else in that room. Hopefully the people are courteous enough to ask you for a picture so you can get a little bit of social media activity out of this ordeal. You don't want people to take pictures from afar because you never know where those pictures end up. They usually have a witty caption. It might get your feelings hurt a little bit. So if you see somebody take a picture from you, just leave them, let them be. You can't control what people are doing nowadays, and mobile phones are everywhere. So you're just going to have to make sure that you're presentable in a happy-go-lucky mood at all time, because you don't want to reinforce a stereotype. That guy has roid rage, even though you walked into the room and all the attention went automatically to you. Take your pictures. If people want to grope, you let them, unfortunately, and you proceed to answer all the repetitive questions regarding ketogenic diets, fat intake, how much do you bench, how big are your arms, show me your six-pack. again, it comes with the territory. And otherwise you're going to have to be reckless and stay at home. And then, you don't meet any of the people. And you only communicate through YouTube or Instagram. Don't be that guy. Don't be a hermit. Get out into the real world. Now, this next one is probably the biggest mindfuck you can get when you're finally happy with your appearance and overall muscularity and you're content with how you look. One of your peers, somebody that you highly respect, asks you, "Bro, are you off cycle? Bro, did you get sick recently? Bro, you look a little bit small. Are you dieting? Bro, you don't look as big and as full and as round as you used to look. What's going on?" So they take your confidence and they wrap it into a ball and they throw that way besides the hoop. That's not a three-pointer. Confidence ruined. And this is also part of the game. Sometimes you have an off day. Sometimes you're not as freaky looking as the day before. And somebody likes to rub that into your face. Now you have to be very strong and solid and confident and stay within your shoes. And consider that the bigger you are, the more dynamic your physique is going to be. So some days you're a little bit more watery. Some days you're a little bit leaner. Some days a little bit more drier. Sometimes more fuller. Your body turns into a very dynamic machine. It's very difficult to stay good looking or full around the heart, etc. all the time, unless you're saucing your socks off, which unfortunately we here at this channel, I can't really recommend that. There's an up period and a down period. Right now I'm in the very down period because I'm doing post-cycle therapy. So all these comments I got recently, besides the comments that I look younger, I got the same questions. Are you dieting? Are you off cycle? Did you get sick? So again, it's part of the game. You can't stay saucy forever. And just look at it this way. For every compliment that you get, raising your overall confidence, at one point you're going to get a negative or derogatory remark, which is going to lower your confidence. So in this way you stay pretty leveled and you don't get too full of yourself, because one of your peers is always around to, tone your ego down a little bit. Unfortunately, this is going to happen for everybody at one point. Staying saucy and having that freaky appearance isn't very sustainable. So at one point you'll have to come off cycle, do a PCT or reduce your hormonal intake to a cruise dose or a hormone replacement dose. And then those compliments are going to go away and transition into questions of health and overall muscularity. And you're just going to have to accept it. It's part of the game. And if you don't have the confidence and the ego to deal with that, I really hope you have a very strong pair of organs so you can prevent this period from occurring by staying saucy. Again, it's not sustainable, so you just better get your mind set in order for that period when you have to get a little bit smaller. Again, it's part of the size. What goes up eventually has to come down. And the last and biggest consequence on this list is that no matter how much size and strength and muscularity you gain, you never get to enjoy it. Because everybody suffers from bigorexia. And you don't actually realize how big you are until you take a picture with an average person. Or with your girlfriend, for example. So I have a certain amount of size that I feel that I carry. I feel the same right now at 100 kilos when I was 115 kilos. But when I take a picture with my wife and compare that to a picture back then, the size difference is noticeable. But it's also very noticeable that I'm literally twice the size of my wife. Not in body weight, she's about 60 kilos and at my maximum was 115 kilos, so almost double. And right now she's 60% of my body weight because I'm only 100 kilos on PCT. But as you gain size, it's just so gradual that everybody around you might see it, but you don't see it. You look in the mirror, I'm same size as last year. And then you do your before and after pictures today, last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and the size difference is astronomical, but you don't see it. You don't get to enjoy it. And we all suffer a little bit from bigorexia, then we don't actually realize how big we are as bodybuilders or classic physique guys. I mean, that's pretty big also. You don't see it. So you don't get to enjoy it. And you keep going to the gym and I want to improve this body part. I want to look a little bit different here. I want to look a little bit leaner that way. Unfortunately, we're never happy with how we look. So please keep that in mind. The project is never finished because you don't see the progress that you make if you only look in the mirror. You'll have to do the before and after pictures. And especially when you've done a contest prep or you've been extremely shredded for a photo shoot at one point in your time, you're always comparing yourself to that super shredded dry look that you had for half a day on a contest or on a photo shoot. And now everything else, you're disappointed because you're not that shredded, not that lean, not that hard, and not that freaky looking because you peaked for that appearance for a certain period of time and you don't get to hold it. So as soon as you step off stage or you step away from the cameras and you take pictures with your phone again or you look in the mirror, it doesn't compare. And this is the huge and the biggest mindfuck of bodybuilding itself, is that you're almost never happy with how you look. And on the single moment in time that you're extremely happy with how you look, you don't get to retain it. And please, guys, by all means, don't change the subject when you get a compliment. Don't make it about how flat your chest is or how shallow your quads are or the lack of separation or how fat your lower back is. Take a compliment, enjoy it. You worked for it incredibly hard and use that as fuel to progress your bodybuilding journey further. Okay? Because it's very difficult to objectively look at yourself. Again, we're all trying to make improvements here and create the best possible physique with the genetic structure and genetic limitations we got from our parents. Again, we don't get to choose which body we had. I mean, if I had to choose, I would choose parents with a much smaller frame and a smaller waist. So I didn't have to blow out my lats that far just to overcompensate for the wide waist and wide obliques that I have naturally. So please do yourself a favor and don't let your inability to recognize how much insane progress you made over the last few years in your bodybuilding journey detract or discourage or demotivate you from continuing to make progress and continuing to reach your goals. Again, it's very difficult to see how you look in the moment. You'll have to do the before and after pictures or track your progress on a yearly basis, 5-year basis, month-to-month basis, whatever you need to affirm that you're going in the right direction, just to keep you going, because it's very difficult to objectively look at yourself and see the insane amount of progress that you make when you look in the mirror. And I'll leave it at that. I think that last one almost turned into a learning moment or a message that you would normally get in an 80s cartoon or an 80s action series. Hey, I'm almost 40, so there's a little bit of knowledge transfer that I can give you guys. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, you don't suffer from attention deficit disorder. A like is highly appreciated. And if you're not subscribed, now's a good time to do so. I know a lot of you already made comments. Feel free to make another comment. It fuels the algorithm and pushes the videos to a new audience. If you're not following me on Instagram, @VigorousSteve, that's also highly appreciated. My website is VigorousSteve.com. You can find a lot of ebooks there for your knowledge enrichment. Again, thank you. See you in the next video.